got into the business and, kind of my perspective, because I'm not here to influence you guys directly on your guys' own path, because I think everybody's path is different, but I do have my own perspective, and hopefully you guys can gain a little bit of insight from that. And so let me kind of start in about me. So I started off, with photography, and this was a few decades ago. And I was hitting photography in all four cylinders, working for commercial studios, doing retouching. Just mic check. Can you guys hear me fine? I don't do
Yeah,
Bluetooth often.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to make sure.
yeah,
Okay.
we're listening.
And perfect. So yeah, so I was in the photography side of things and doing commercial photography here locally in Columbus, Ohio, bouncing around some studios. And you learn a lot of things, you know, post grad, post college, that when you get into the creative working force that you didn't realize. And one of those is that creative is not the end all be all. Like, you can't just sit around doing editorial work and doing creative shit all the time. And you have to do things like e-commerce. You have to do things for, clients that you don't really want to do. And it's not that you don't want to do it. It's just you never really thought that was the position you're going to find yourself in as a career, because you were drawn by your creativity and your passion to make stuff, to make really cool stuff. Your curiosities and your passion drove you. Now you have to think about it in a more business minded perspective, because you're not there for yourself anymore. You're there for your clients, the business, and their customer consumers. So within photography, I found myself doing lots of things, scattering my focus into doing a lot of freelance stuff. I shot a lot of weddings, 150, 200 weddings over a few year period, which was grueling to say the least, and frustrating at many times. But I learned, so many things working with people, working behind the camera, working with, local places for food, shots, and everything else. So my passion was always driven from the visuals of photography. And that's where I, triage into 3D, because I saw this amazing push for 3D at the time. Still at that time, it was like Hollywood above the rest, because you had to afford render engines. You had to afford like the crazy machines. The software wasn't easy to understand. This was back during like Blender 1.8. And, now we've come a pretty far, ways. But my entry step into 3D from photography was photogrammetry. So that, kind of makes me want to touch base on like finding your own way through, the means of your creative, structure. You have a foundation, and, we already wear so many hats as creatives. Don't look for more hats. Wear the shit out of the hat you have and build upon that. And for me, that was, initially photogrammetry. And I didn't really have a good foundation for 3D modeling, for animation, but I could turn pictures into 3D objects. And at that point, photogrammetry was like brand new. There was no reality capture. It wasn't a thing yet. I was using Agisoft. It was before Metashape. It was called Photoscan, I think, and some other ones, Meshroom, and some other open source stuff. But it was really cool to see how photos could translate into 3D directly. And you could have these 3D models that were high poly and hard to work with, but they had like very, very granular like textures and details to them, which was really, really cool. And I landed my first client, Versace, at the time, which was really, really interesting for me. And I think I made like $500 off doing one of their busts. They had a relief that's kind of like Medusa, and I scanned that in, and it was kind of a cool experience. So for me, I was like, wow, 3D is really a cool thing. I bridged the gap, through photography. That was my entry point. And I expanded from there. Now I'm going to say, I thought I was the shit at the point. So I was like, yeah, now I can make 3D models, I can do photography. So I thought like I made it. I was successful. I was a 3D artist. I had a few, clients. I was on, those Upwork and some of those other freelance those buy-in agencies where they take 40% and you just get a little bit, but you get to work with, various brands, small brands, and, get your name out there and do some work. So it was this first year and a half, 2 years, I didn't do well. I got some clients here and there. I learned things. I kept experiencing things. I kept learning things, but it was rough. And I started to really dial in, and hone my techniques on 3D. I learned 3D modeling basics. I was up till 3 a.m. almost every night learning and learning and learning, consuming. And that's where, like, I think the challenge is, if you're not there yet with your own techniques, with your own creative, if you haven't really built a foundation for that yet, you shouldn't branch out hardcore into freelance world, because you're just not ready. And once you get into the freelance world, once you get into the business aspect, you have to own that. You have to own your own brand equity, and you have to own the business side of things at least 50% of the time. So you're no longer like that passionate creative that's just doing creative stuff all the time. You're focusing more on your brand and your business. Because if you're not focusing on your brand, brands don't want to work with you. You don't have any credibility. So you really have to own that on your own business side first. And
So yeah,
that means a lot of things for a lot of different people. Oh wait,
what's yeah? I
continue.
mean, yeah. I want to ask you like, what do you mean when you say work with your brand? Like, what is the meaning that you think of that?
So that doesn't mean, you know, organically grow from one client to another and just by, having a social media presence, having, some cool portfolio images. It means really dial in what you're passionate about. Find your own niche, your own core three items, I'll say, and package that up that you're really, really great at those three things and sell the shit out of it. So don't stay up all night looking at tutorials and trying more and more and more and building your bubble out wider. Have focus. Have focus and go straight with what you want to do. And I think that's what a lot of times we get caught up in this content,
Mm,
generation period where we're seeing cool things and we're just scattered without focus.
mm.
And that doesn't help us align to our business goals. I think we need to sit down, focus, and go after what you're really passionate about and what you really, clings to your brand, your identity. Everybody has a different identity. Like me,
Yeah.
mine was photography to photogrammetry, and then I started building different 3D, portions from there. If I were to go back and do it all again, I would have built that up correctly, done it right,
Hmm.
and set my brand up for success.
That's
But
that's that's
I gained
interesting.
success.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super.
I,
That's
I
super
gained
interesting.
success through hard times, through experiences up and down. But I think trying to align yourself to your own business identity is crucial, and then you can fill the gaps from there. That's where
Yeah.
partnerships come in. You find somebody who's really good at 2D art, you
Yeah.
partner with that guy. You guys do some portfolio stuff together, and then you attack the market together like that.
Right.
Collaborations, networking. That's where we go into
Right.
that networking phase where that's super crucial because it's not any of us competing against each other.
Yeah.
We're all
Exactly.
in it for the same common goal.
Right.
We're trying to, build excellent work together. And I think that's like here in 2024, networking is stronger than ever. We can get
Yeah.
on here, we can get on these little forums, meet other people with the same like-minded, approaches, and we can build something together.
Right.
There's so much content out there nowadays that you have to understand that it's hard for brands to really understand, what that content is, how are they going to use that content for their brand. So you have to own your own business approaches and be a little bit of informative and educational at times. If you really want to sell what you do well, then you have to be able to speak towards that. You have to tell a client, work with me because of this. This is how you can use this, rather than them coming to you and saying, we want you because of this. You need to be ready to tell them why they need that.
Mm.
And a lot of people just think that since they can create something that looks amazing, you know that, I know that. Everyone here knows it looks amazing and what that is, but the clients don't understand that.
Yeah.
They're focusing on their product, their brand equity, and they need to know how you fit into that scheme, not
Yeah.
how they fit into your scheme.
Hey man, this is so valuable. I have a lot of questions. Do you mind if I ask all of them?
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
because you talk about like a focus, vertical focus, right? It's like, what do you mean exactly with vertical focus in terms of your message, like choosing your niche, understanding the message, the business problem, like what is that?
We've all played with Legos or Lincoln Logs and stuff like that when we were younger. So when you're building straight up, I mean you're fortifying and you're building straight up. If you start building outwards, you're never getting higher. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if you start going lateral and you start saying, "Oh, I'm really good at 3D modeling, but now I need to be a simulation expert. I'm going to jump into Emergen. I'm going to
Mm.
Houdini and
Mm.
work on flip fluids. I'm going to do all this." Then you're starting to go this way
Mm.
and you're never going this way. So you're never going to succeed if you're always going outwards.
Right.
So if you do three things well, you might be inferior to other artists out there, and that's fine. Like I'm not. I know people who are way better 3D artists than me, but I'm more successful than them because I'm focused on my creative entrepreneurship. I'm
Mm.
focused on building something for myself, being successful within what I do.
Mm.
I'm not trying to be the best artist out there, and I'm good at what I do, but there are better people than me, and you have to own that. You have to be ready to be willing to acknowledge that there are other people out there that are better at certain things, and
Yeah.
that's completely fine.
And
Be exemplary at what you do. And I know a lot of times you get that feeling, oh, I'm a generalist, so maybe I should just do everything. but you can be a generalist with focus, right? You can have focus
Yes.
on something that's really grounded, which you're really good at, but still be open to learn and open to adapt and build other things in. So many times I'll get a new job, I'll get a new opportunity, I'll call it, and I am confident with 80% of it, but I'm not confident with 20% of it. But you know
Mm.
what? I'm a professional and I know I can do that. I know I can adapt that. And literally maybe 3 months ago, I had a project where I spent 3 nights up, three full all-nighters, and that was tough. The first all-nighter was bad. The second two kind of I was in the zone. It was weird. I felt like a zombie, but I got through it. And I was doing things I was not comfortable with at all at first, but then I learned kind of on the spot. So you have to be willing to make those sacrifices and either own that you don't know things and just say, I'm going to have to bust my ass for 24 48 hours straight to learn this on the spot. Or you can pre-plan. You can know that you're going to have this coming in.
Yeah.
Give yourself time, and that's what comes down to communication and transparency too. If you're not transparent with your clients, then you can't expect them to be transparent with you. If you don't
Yeah.
know something, just let them know that this is not in my wheelhouse. I don't feel comfortable with it, and they'll respect you for it. Don't take on things, burn bridges, and try to do things if you really can't own that.
Oh my God. I mean, this is so good in so many levels that, you know, I know that a lot of people having questions right now. So we are going to create a Q&A at the end. So you can write down your question meanwhile in the messages because I think, you know, I don't want to interfere with the flow of Spencer. So basically what you're saying right now is like you need to focus on one skill and doing really, really good. And then if you have more relationship with your clients, you can expand your services, but inside a relationship, correct?
Correct, but I'm not saying directly one skill. I'm just saying hone it in.
Yeah.
Stay within your pocket and don't go out of pocket.
Yeah.
And you can within time you can start building and building and building. And
Yeah.
I think we all get to that point where that's where experience comes in. That's where you do have to jump out and you're like, what's a GLB? Now you have to learn out how to export GLBs for different outputs and stuff. So you're going to start bringing in small things here and there
Right.
through your experience through time, but don't try to approach it all at once. Don't sit
Right.
down with an encyclopedia of things and say, I'm going to get to all of this tomorrow, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I mean, but probably that's also related to the whole universe of what you do. It's like if someone to see your work need to be super clear of what you do, and if you're too general, they don't have any idea of what you do basically, and they cannot approach.
Yeah.
I mean, why is this guy useful for me if this is not a clear perspective
Mhm.
of who he are? And also,
Exactly.
if you're serving everyone at the same time, you're not serving anyone, correct? So it's almost like this
Mhm. Right.
vertical approach is also in the message, is also in what niche like do you want to be, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to flip gears with it because I'm going to approach it now as a business, outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do some things. You're selling yourself as a guy who does this well. And now you're going to start building relationships with clients. They're going to know that you do that. They're going to come back. You're going to get repeat customers. And I think that's where your success barometer has to kick in. What does success mean for you? Does
Mm-hmm.
that mean that you have a different client every week, a different client every month? Or does that mean you have 3 clients a year that come to you all the time for the same thing over and over and over, and you have
Right.
repetition within, your what you're doing? And I think we all have to be ready to acknowledge what our success barometer is. Like for me right now, I'm working full time as a design director at a studio. That gives me foundation, and I didn't mean to look at it like that. That gives me foundation, and I have the clients directly from them. I get to work with. I get to work with a small team here, and I get to mentor them as well. But like on the side, I have consistent clients that I'm always working on, and that's me partnering with a few studios. It's me just having some clients of my own. And for me, I'm in a successful mode where I'm content. I get the
Mm-hmm.
amount of work, I can flow it. I have family time. I can take vacations. I can do what I need to do. I'm not a millionaire, but I make the amount of money that's comfortable for me,
Yeah.
and it's that I feel successful doing. Like my softwares are paid for, my hardware is paid for yearly, and so you guys have to be willing to like find out what that successful barometer is for you. Where's that level of success where you want to meet? You don't need to exceed, and you don't want to be down here, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So basically, you're saying like you need to put a number in your goals, and to achieve that number, like acquire more business skills, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you need to quantify it per se. I mean, financially, you want to have
Yeah.
something in mind, but you don't
Yeah.
need to quantify it per se of client amount.
Mm.
You kind of just want to have, a regulation on workflows, and because you don't want to be working every night till 2 a.m. on
Yes.
projects. That's not reasonable. That's not functional.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to have a cutoff on a daytime if you're going to work half days, if you're going to work full days, etc.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, I mean, if I understand it well, so basically the journey start with the painful process of learning, right? Really painful process in terms of grinding and just put yourself out there if you don't have the skills, like artistic skills, right? Technical skills. And then you start getting really good in some areas of these skills and you master those and you start acquiring, the tangents of that skill too, but everyone is recognizing you for one type of work, and at the same time you choose a niche and you try to understand what business problem are you solving and you go in that route in your words, in your messages, correct?
Correct. And I think like you'll underestimate how consuming it gets once it is full throttle. So you're not going to have time for personal work. You're going to have time for your personal branding. You're not going to have time to make a new reel every month because you're going to be consumed with the client work and business and just client communication. Like on most projects, I'm on meetings and emails and just client communication,
Yeah.
you know, 40, 50% of the time. And
Yeah.
that's not even considering the work. So I don't have time to go in and do a bunch of my own personal branding, do some more personal explorations and work and post online all the time. So you have to be willing to sacrifice your own brand at the extent of building your own business. And if you don't have a solid foothold on your own brand yet, then that's a problem
Yeah.
because you could be really, really busy with some work for 2 or 3 months and then go 6 months, 8 months with no work.
And that,
And
yeah,
that's
that
tough. It's tough.
I think that's a common pain. I think if anyone is hearing, like everyone Spencer is doing is value for you, just put some emojis and some reactions. I want to see your interactions here. But at the same time, I want to ask you, like, what do you do in those cases? Like, how you prepare yourself to don't have those loopholes?
And that's not easy. And that's where you really find out who you are in those moments because it's
Mm.
not the moments where you're doing really well, it's the moments where you're doing really bad.
Yeah.
And you're if especially I have 2 kids and a family, so for me, those become tension, friction moments where you better be aligned both financially
Yeah.
and just organizationally, because now you don't have money coming in for the next 3 months, or you did a bunch of projects, but then you're net 60. So
Yeah.
you finish the projects and now you got to wait 60 days. And so you want to make sure you're taking care of yourself, both mentally, your health, and financially, and just structuring and organizing things as best as you can.
Mm.
Like I can't explain like how many just arbitrary subscriptions or payments sometimes come out of the account. I'm like, damn, I didn't know I had that coming out this month. And so you got to be ready. You got to be ready for certain things that hit, and that comes through organization. Just having organization through your
Yes.
life. And
Mm.
for us creatives, that's tough because we just want to create, and we're not the most astute on the business side and the account side, and
Mm.
trying to like formulate that. But you have to become that. You have to
Mm.
really become that.
So, what business skills do you had to learn in the past to acquire another level? Like, what skills do you think you put yourself on purpose to understand it and to know it to acquire this level?
I think you learn a lot of communication through business, and it's no longer you reaching out, but you understanding the industries you're looking into,
Mm.
because they're all trying to showcase their own brand, their own product, their own equity in a certain way, and you have to kind of match that. You kind of have to, flip the tables on what you're trying to showcase and tailor it directly to the brands you're trying to go after.
Mm.
So you have to become strategic. That's the word
Mm.
I'm going to use because it's very easy to get caught up in your own shit and saying I'm do this, I'm an awesome, look at all this stuff. But you have to become strategic with what you're showing. So
Mm.
sometimes it's arranging different portfolios. Sometimes it's going at it a different way on communication, reaching out to, you know, cold reach outs from LinkedIn or from social media approaches. I mean, you might call, I like calling people. You get people on the phone, you can talk to them directly. So there's always, here in Columbus, Ohio, it's a very small kind of network. We're a
Mm.
large network, but small network. But since COVID, everything became global, right?
Right.
So no longer is everything localized, everything's globalized.
Right.
But with that being said, everybody's going after big fish. try to
Yes.
find the small fish. I mean, you're not big yourself. We're trying to, there's so much work out there. The pond is huge. So
Right.
go down to your local bakery shop. If I'm great at photo scans, I've walked in to local pastry shops and said, look what I can do. This is going to offer you, some really immense, capabilities online with a digital presence if I get you a digital menu. So I started scanning in food many years ago for Cheesecake Factory.
Mm.
I was doing cake slices and stuff in 3D for Cheesecake Factory, which was a really cool experience. Short-lived, but it was fun. So trying to break the mold of traditional. This is my awesome stuff. Look at me, I'm awesome. To formulate a strategy to go after certain clients, and then you'll understand that client more. You'll understand their industries more. You're going to understand how to approach and communicate with these people more.
That's amazing. I think imagine if if I'm starting over, right? What do you think would be a good idea? If imagine if I want to go to cosmetic and I have the skills and I really have the
Mhm.
portfolio, but I don't have the business knowledge to go and reach them. It's like imagine if you have that in your goals. What do you think will be a good strategy regarding what you said? To do that.
Well, you want to go into cosmetic, one thing's for sure, you're going to have a killer portfolio of cosmetic. We all know that cosmetic is a very competitive area.
Right.
We have great photographers, we have great CGI artists in that area. So
Right.
killer portfolio, one. So everybody understands that. And then once you get down to it, it's all granular. It's like a lot of a lot of industry trending. You go in there and you find out, who are new cosmetic companies in January 2025. There's plenty of places online you can research this and find
Yeah.
this, and you reach out directly. And you don't start by going after L'Oreal Paris. You don't
Right.
start by going after um, Pantene, or just bigger brands.
Yes.
And I mean, you can on your personal time, you can build out some really cool stuff, and you can like shout that out in a portfolio piece, but it's
Right.
not going to probably get you work from them.
Right.
And so that's where you want to start as granular as you can get, as small as you can get, and
Yes.
try to focus in on the things that are probably seem appropriate. And
Right.
that's where all the time I'm on some of these business trend sites, and I'm looking at new spirit companies. I've reached out to a few, and I've gotten many opportunities to work with some of
Mm.
them.
Mm.
Um, uh, same with cosmetic. You let 2024, the information system, do the work for you. And that's what I
Right.
mean by we have the benefit now of having the internet. We have access to everything, in front of us. So yeah, do your homework, dive in, and don't expect clients to come to you, but
Right.
you're going to have to go to them
Right.
pretty often.
Right. So
But that's the trickle effect is, once you establish a relationship with that client, you may not directly get work, but then
yes.
maybe 3 months from now, or maybe whenever their marketing peak is, because they're going to have strategic marketing,
Right.
budgets at certain times. So you have to be ready for, them to say, oh, this month, not this month, or maybe in, February, we'll come back to
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
be ready for that.
right.
And then also, like, that's where I think trying to focus your efforts 1v1 is not as essential as early partnerships. Try to find small studios of creatives, small agencies where you could potentially get some work, just some
Mm,
trickle in work, side work. Oh, you guys are busy in December, you got so much going on, I'll take some of your side work.
right.
And you start building relationships with these small studios, and then you're getting in consistent work whenever you don't have to hunt for that work anymore. Now you build a
Mm,
relationship with the studio, they're giving you work because they need to get outputs. They
right.
have their own marketing, they have their own production set up, so you become hands at that point, which is great because now while you're hands for them, you can start still build your own brand. So you
Right.
have this duality in play of you building your brand while getting more work in.
Right. I think that's pretty smart because basically what you're saying here is like when you start small, you need to open small doors, correct? It's like
Mhm.
if you go to the
Alice
you
in Wonderland.
and yeah, exactly. It's always like a mentor that I have always says this like if you want to kill the dragon, you don't need to kill the dragon when you're in level 0, right? You need to accomplish the level that you can kill the dragon. If not, the
Yeah.
dragon will eat you. And you don't want trust me on this. You don't want work for big agencies yet, because there's a lot of
Ever.
problems doing that. Yeah, yeah. So can you explain a
Um,
little more the inside for because I think you mentioned like net 60 and things like that, but what is your experience working with big brands?
um, so here at the studio where I work, we have only big brands because we're supporting 400 and something people here at
Wow.
Ordering, which is great. It's great to get experience working with some of these big brands because you get it's a name drop thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like a manly thing, puff my chest. So I worked with so and so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the small businesses, the small studios, they're more nimble. They're ready to be more creative. They're ready to move quick. They're ready to take a chance on you
Right.
because they don't have to move mountains. They don't have to keep things at a specific, you know, point of entry with a large brand. Let's hypothetically say a brand because I've never worked with Mountain Dew, but say you work with Mountain Dew,
Cool.
they have to be very, very attentive to their brand to equity. And
Right.
what I mean by that is their greens, their colors, their logos. And so that becomes more important than the creative itself, which is really
Right.
strange. So
Right.
their consistency factors become, the end all be all with these large brands. And you really strip down to like the bare essentials with working for them
Mm-hmm.
because they want to have their own flavor, and you get really minimal creative output or input, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
with working with a larger brand. So it's not the worst thing in the world, because it'd be really awesome to work with large brands. And if you get
Right.
into other specific studios, like if we talk about like Man vs. Machine, we talk about
Right.
Already Been Chewed, we talk about Tendril Media Work, we talk about some of these companies who are known for their design visual language. They
Right.
create visual language specific for each job they come in, each brand, and that's what they're sought after for.
Yeah.
They work with anywhere between 3 to 10 people on some of these projects, and they work for like months, and you get 100,000, 200,000, $1 million jobs.
Right.
So that's a lot. Where you can start for yourself, you can take note of that. You can try to kind of consume what they're doing on a large scale and try to make that into a small form for yourself. I
Right.
think there's a strong foothold in this industry for 3K to 10K, the
Mm-hmm.
smaller jobs, that you can go get more of. You can get a job every 2 weeks with some of
Right.
these smaller places, because that is an attractive budget point. That's attractive to you because you're making money,
Yeah.
and you're also doing small creative jobs here and there. So don't shoot for the stars and try to get these huge RFPs or
Right.
these things that you couldn't even handle on your own.
Right.
And then you end up wasting time, and you could potentially burn some bridges too.
Yeah, and I think it's super important what you said because there's a lot of brands also they can just pay that, and if you can add the value of a really good 3D creative, you're doing a really really good great service for them. Because I mean in terms of quality, I think a mid like quality guy or a little high quality person can do a 10 drill old members machine work. Like those things are not impossible. It's just about the full structure of being the responsible of a big brand that they went to on the shoulder. So at the same time, you can do a really awesome creative for a smaller brand, and they will be super grateful that you do that. And at the same time, it's quick payment. It's a quick in and out, and they are more responsive. So yeah, that's wonderful. So
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like when I was going back to earlier on when I was saying like find your passion, like a lot of times I'll get work because I reach out to people that I'm really passionate about, and I'll give them examples. So a company, a traditional company, I don't know if you guys know Mucci Acoustics. They're
Yep.
really, really high-end cues. I used to play a lot of pool billiards growing up. It gave me an escape, especially because I have ADHD. So it helped me like work at angles, focus my mind. And yeah, I used to do amateur billiards at one of the tournaments. I used to do that stuff throughout college. It was great. And I was like, you know what? They don't really have a digital presence. So I
Mm,
took upon myself to go reach out, emailed them, and said, I could do this for you. This is what I can do. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. Let's see what you got. So I did some editorial work for them in a magazine, and I never posted it. I'm going to get around. 2025 is going to be a big year for me to start
so
posting some of the stuff I've been able to do. And like I said, when you get caught up in doing all this work, you don't have time to work on your own personal brand anymore.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
you need to make
so
you need to make the discipline for it. Basically, you need to
yeah,
force yourself to sleep 30 minutes less or something like that and just do it. But at the same time, it's really good. I mean, you mentioned that you outreach them, like So, what exactly did you do there? Because there's a lot of people here that are lost in the way that what can I say in if I'm contacting someone, like what do you do exactly
you're
there?
you're going to get no replies half the time. You're going to get told no 20% of the time or 40% of the time. You're going to get a maybe 5% of the time, and then you're going to get an absolutely another 5% of the time. So you got to be ready, for people to say no. It's
Yeah.
going to happen, and that's completely fine. That's not indicative of you as a creative. That's just, like I said, they have their own marketing plans, they have their own agendas, they have
Yeah.
their own budgets, and you have to be willing to respect that.
Hmm.
At the same time, you can go the this is where things get a little iffy in the market because you can do free work. You absolutely can partner and collaborate and do free work. If you make a living of that, you're undercutting the entire system. You're undercutting everybody here to make work because they're going to get work done free and they're going to think they can continue to go that route
Right.
as a business. So you have to be willing to ask for what you believe you're worth. And I
Right.
think everybody needs to be accountable, that we don't do shit for free.
Right.
Our software is not free. Our
Right.
renders cost money. So charge, show your passion, but say, yes, it's still going to cost you this much. And if they
Right.
say no, guess what?
Yeah,
It's going
but
to, but if they say,
mhm. So sorry. I think
continue.
the question is like, what exactly do you say if you outreach someone? It's like,
Oh,
hey, I'm Spencer. I love to helping you. I don't know. What exactly do you say there?
yeah. I mean, I don't have a template of like the
Hmm.
same thing I reach out to everyone. It's going to be customized based on like the brand itself. I want to let them know that I understand the brand, but I have something of value that I can bring. And I want to always make sure that I'm not just saying, hey, I love your brand. I'd love to do something with you because that's fine. But
Yeah.
like, what are you bringing to the table? How
Right.
are you going to elevate their brand? How are you going to elevate their product, their brand equity? And
Mm.
you have to say that you understand who they are. You want to
Mm.
do this. If you'd like to hear more, let's jump on a call this week. And more times than not, you'll get a response and people will be actually interested or they'll let you down softly. But yeah, at the same time, you always have to bring something to the table. You have to look at it from a business perspective that somebody's reaching out to you. Are they
Yeah.
trying to just, get money from you? What are they trying to bring to the table?
Right. Exactly. So basically, you understand what their business is about, and you talk in business terms also.
Yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
like go deeper into it. Do a little homework. If they have a new release on something, if they have
Right.
a new drop of something, you speak specific to the brand. Speak specifically to how you're going to take that and elevate that. You're going to make an
Right.
immersive experience of something that they'd never even thought of. Try to use what you know,
Hmm.
and then re-educate them on something,
And
and that's valuable. Knowledge is power.
and you say that on your first email, or you say that on a reply of a previous email?
It's either or.
Okay.
Like you could be a little bit more open-ended on the first one just to, get your foot in the door.
Okay.
But if you feel like you really want to approach that and attack that like head on,
Right.
then by all means, like start off direct with it because people
Right.
appreciate direct. What people don't appreciate is, a templated version that everybody can tell, oh, you copied and pasted and put my name in here. And it's not that you can't win that way. It's that everything's like controlled by bots nowadays. So you
Right.
have to be concerned like, is this going straight to my junk? Is this a bot? Is this something? Be authentic. Like
Yeah.
being authentic is going to get you like places.
That's good. That's a good thing. So, for example, did you receive emails saying let's have a virtual coffee or things like that are totally like templated? I don't know. What message did you receive? Because probably you receive a lot of people that want to work with you also, right?
Here and there, I get a little bit reach out on
Mm-hmm.
social media.
And
It is,
what
it
things
is,
do you think they don't need to do? What things are a no no?
um, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I think you can tell in the tone of voice and the
Mm.
tonality if somebody's trying too hard. And it's not that trying too hard is a bad thing. It's just like you really have to be authentic and be yourself. I think there's many times when people reach out to me and say, "Hey, look at my portfolio stuff." I'll go look at their portfolio because I'm curious,
Why not?
to
Right? Yeah.
say the least. And it's not going to hurt anything. But for somebody who has a business and they have a product and you're trying to gain work from them, it's a different ball game. So they
Mm.
they get these emails, they get reach outs probably 100 a day,
Right.
and they have all of these places on social media, on various accounts that
Right.
people are just trying to elevate themselves in a way. Like if you partner with me, it's going to elevate me. So that's why I want to partner with you. And people don't like that. They don't like that latch on, parasitic activity. They want to see that you're really into their brand and you're going to
Yeah.
bring something to the table.
Right.
And a lot
Right.
of times I'm like reaching out as, you know, a creative that has downtime, that's passionate about a brand, that's saying like, hey, over the next few months, I really would like to, bring something together with you. I have so many great ideas. We can do this. Let's collaborate together. Let's push this. Let's take this to another level. And I want to be as transparent as I can that like I'm taking my time to work with you, and let's do something awesome together.
That's really great. So basically, what you're saying here is like the tone of voice and also the context. Like you always need to see what context is surrounding, right, this person.
Yeah.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool,
I
cool.
mean, that we're not, sometimes, you can tell when people are more professional or less professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in the business world, you always have to have your, business boots on. You always have to sound
Yeah.
professional, and you have to like, walk the walk and talk the talk. So you can't be hesitant. You got to be bold. And that's that's just one of the things from an entrepreneurial standpoint that
Mm.
a lot of creatives aren't as bold as they should be, and they suffer for it.
That's
So,
a
I mean,
really
don't
good.
don't be afraid to be bold.
That's a really really good point. So, what examples do you think that something's bold for you? Someone is bold.
Um,
I know it's a hard question.
So yeah, yeah. Well, don't give up on a no. So if somebody does say no, if you come back, they reply and they say no, um, go ahead and again, peel back the layers. Ask a little bit why not. Ask in a
Mm.
nice way, why not right now.
Yeah.
If it's not fitting your marketing scheme and your business plan at the time, okay, let's reschedule, or let's jump on a call at least, and we'll discuss some things, because I think that they don't understand. If
Right.
I'm thinking right, they don't understand what I'm trying to offer them or bring to the table. So
Right.
let's discuss a little bit more. So
Mm.
don't take no for an answer as the first option. And then also, if clients are coming at you, oh, I need this by, January 1. Well, do you really need it by January 1?
Right.
Yeah, can I have 4 more days? Can I get it to you January 5th? So don't be afraid to ask for more time.
Right.
Don't be afraid to ask for more budget.
Right.
Always be kind of like bold with your approach. You don't have to be bold and be an asshole. You can just be bold by you can just question, you know?
Yeah. And that's a good point because a lot of times, like for example, in budget terms, they say, okay, we don't have more budget, but that's not true because business can allocate different. They can move pieces, right? They can move pieces from all departments, and if they found the value that is really valuable, they will fund the money to fund it. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
you have to be ready to explain it, because if you
yeah.
want more budget, then why do you need more budget?
What's
If
the
you
value?
if you
Yeah,
if,
right,
Yeah, exactly.
right,
And if $2,000 more is going to get you this much more, benefit, then
right,
absolutely go buy into it. But if you just
exactly.
say, oh, that's going to cost you 2,000 more, they're going to say no.
Yeah, we always discuss in these calls like you never negotiate price, you always negotiate value. And because people don't understand that 3D is pretty flexible. So you for one asset you can have tons of things, right? It's not one thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and it's been amazing. So we a lot of people have questions. So first of all, Spencer, it's I mean I cannot say thank you enough. A lot of people will
Yeah.
add a lot of value here, but let's go with the question. I think Alan it's first, so you can unmute yourself and then yeah, just go ahead.
I think I already unmuted.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sorry. Hey, Spenser, how you doing?
Hey, pretty
Thanks
good. How
so
are you?
much to come here. I am a generalist 3D artist. I'm from Motion, and I am a kind of generalist one. I do a little bit of thing. And you saw it's really important to focus in one thing and good better in one specific thing. I agree with that. It's really important. And I want to know other aspect of that. Do you think sometimes a specific guy don't get jobs because he's so specific in one side quest? Do you think is a way be journalist to be reach too much other jobs? What do you thinking about that?
Well, I think there's not a direct correlation between, the amount of your outreach compared to what you're. It's not as direct as people would like to think it. Like, and what I mean by that is you position yourself for a thing, and you're selling yourself as a guy who does a thing, and you can do that excellently. It doesn't mean you're gonna get the work. So you really have to put the work in to go and get more work. You have to do a lot of communication. You have to understand that industry trends. I mean, it's a shifting industry in any way you look at it. So you have to have your ear to the ground. You have to be willing to network, communicate, and put yourself out there. So putting yourself out there even when you don't want to.
Mm.
I'm not saying go on TikTok and do dances, but I'm saying that you have to be willing to go the extra mile. And a lot of people aren't. A lot of people can be excellent at what they do, but they're not willing to go the extra mile, or they don't know that they're not going the extra mile. So just having awareness of yourself, of your brand, and how you're approaching things day to day is like crucial. And being lucky, even like you can't even quantify that with the amount, but so
Yeah.
many people in this industry just
Yeah.
get lucky. They're at the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
So that comes just to being aware, like being, I'm saying, not saying up at all hours, but available. I mean, your greatest ability is availability. So
Mm.
just being available, ready to communicate, ready to talk, ready to jump at opportunities. And if you see something shift, if you're looking at popular culture and you see a shift that, oh, here in the US, here in 2025, they're going to remove orange dyes from everything.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go approach this small candy shop that has to now pivot their entire structure for 2025 to redo their candy line. And now I'm going to say I can bring something to the table. I can help you get the message out there. So you have to be thoughtful with like entire industries. Wherever you want to see yourself, you got to be very thoughtful and aware.
Oh, great, great. Thanks to that reply.
Awesome. Awesome. I think Sarwan, do you have one? Yes. Go ahead.
Uh, yeah. Hi, Spencer.
Hey,
I wanted to ask, while reaching out, like, who do you think is like the right person to, connect with? Like, is it like the marketing folks, like, brand managers, or like people who are like in design roles, like a creative director or, like an art director? Like, who's the right person to have that conversation with?
that's a great question because it depends on the brand too. I mean, at smaller brands, you're going to have the social media coordinator sometimes be the CEO and they're like the point person of communication for a very small brand. For a large brand, they're going to have a team of social media people. So you reach out on social media, they're not going to give you a reply, or they're going to say, because you're not really appealing to the right person. That's just a person posting daily. So you have to be willing to do some investigation per brand, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it takes time. So jumping on LinkedIn and going through some of their profiles and finding out who the right point person is. And I'm not saying don't ever reach out to a president or CEO of a company. I've done that before, and that it's probably not going to get you work, but you might open a door of communication there.
Right.
Or you might not. You're not
Got
going to
it.
burn bridges.
Yeah.
You're not going to burn bridges by talking to people. All right. So that's
Got
where
it.
people think, oh, am I not talking to the right person? Maybe not. But guess what? If you talk to that person, you're kind, you're warm, you're inviting, that you showed passion for their brand, they might triage you to the correct person, or they'll let you know,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm only doing this. So my responsibility is X. You have to reach out to Y, and they'll tell you who to reach out
Right.
to.
Right.
Got it, got it. Also, while like talking to all the leads, how do you communicate your value, without sounding too salesy? Sometimes, it feels kind of salesy, like, you're talking about yourself, like, I can do this, I can do that.
Mhm.
It sounds a bit cocky, you get it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they feel the same. And I think that's where you have to draw that fine line between, selling yourself or selling value to them.
Right.
And what
Mm-hmm.
is your value to them? How do you see yourself, becoming a value, becoming an asset? And I think that's where, you're going to get some replies sometimes. If you even say the right things, they'll say, "Oh, sorry, we already have a 3D team. We already have an internal team that does that." And you're like, "That's great. I would love to partner with that team. Would you mind putting me in contact with that team?" And then you can start riffing with them if they have overflow, if they need help. And so that's just finding out, the proper way to communicate with some of these brands is going
Right.
to be a challenge because I think you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna come off too salesy sometimes, too pitchy. But you just have to do your best to kind of take that experience and learn. And you'll
Got it.
find the right tonality, the right tone of voice based off like who you are as an individual.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool.
I think that's crucial. I think regarding what you said, it's like I think when you do messages, when you do emails or things like that, that everything came from the spirit first, from the mindset first. So if I always tell these guys, like, if you go to the pitch mode, if you just want the money from them, that you can feel that in the message. It's almost like you
Mhm.
feel it. But if you really are in the service mode, that you really want to help them, that you can also feel that. So I think the first layer of thinking about it and having the right mindset and the right spirit is crucial. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, mindset's everything. I mean, that's what we're talking about today. It's kind of like I underscored that before we even started talking. Mindset is everything in this game. And if you don't have the right mindset, you don't have the, you know, right, temperament for this, then you're not going to succeed in this business because that's really what it is. I mean, being a creative is tough. Being an entrepreneur is tough, but being a creative entrepreneur, that's a challenge
Yeah.
because you're trying to focus on what you want, which is the passion, the creativity. And a lot of people don't understand that. As a business person, you're just out there to get money, you're out there to make sales, you're out there to build something, build a pyramid. As a creative, you're just out there doing artwork. But we're trying to bridge that gap and become successful creatives, and that's a challenge. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to have that mindset.
Mm-hmm. And always looking for the problems that you're solving, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, doing after every project, I look back and I see what I did wrong or what, some gaps that I didn't, hurdle correctly. I'm always trying to build a better product of myself for either the customers I'm working with or my future customers. So you
Wow.
always have to be willing to take a step back, revisit what you did and see where you could have tidied things up, whether that's the communication, the business side, or just the work itself.
I think that will put a pin on that thought because you said something really useful. You said, I'm always looking, me as a product, I look myself as a product, right? And I always looking for
Mhm.
improving that product. And without information, how you can improve that product, right? So asking for the feedback in the end is something that you always do. Also, do you ask also for referrals? Like what do you do in those two terms?
I've never asked for a referral.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't think that's a valuable thing. If you can get referrals, great. Most of the time, referrals come based
But
off the quality. Like
right.
so, the people I work with that I get referrals from are usually based off just the work itself, and that
Mm,
speaks volumes. But like I think that's a great. I've never actually even thought about that, but that's probably a great, entry point into some other things. If you do great work for someone, and you know, maybe you can get a referral. But like I said, most of the referrals I get are just based off the work itself,
right.
and I'll get somebody else that reaches it. Hey, you worked with Jeff last month. We love what you did. Can we do the same thing? And I've
Right.
had that 3 or 4 different times.
Right. I don't know if you know Daniel Priestley, but he has a book that's called People the Persuasive People Are the Influence, something like that. He always says like the best moment to ask something and with the other people say thank you. So when a client say or write thank you to you, they are in the spirit and the mindset and the mood state. They can do something for you. That's the perfect moment to ask something. To ask, okay, the feedback of this project or referral or whatever you want to ask. That's the perfect moment. Yes, it's a really good takeaway. Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
that's great.
So anyone has other questions? You know, okay, Alan, go ahead.
Sorry to make other question.
It's
Uh,
all good.
uh, I don't want to be a dick, like questions. I think we can
Alan's
chat
such
on
a dick.
DM before, no problem at all.
Yes.
uh, like I say, I'm from motion designer. I work with After Effects at all, and I'm trying to migrate to 3D, and that's other kind of clients, other kind of jobs. And I feel the 3D industry is a little different between the motion industry. We have too much steps and too much things to do in the 3D market. And After Effects, you just need to go away, just you, and make all things going. And
Mhm.
my ask is, do you think is truly more difficult to enter in 3D world, by the way, to enter in the motion is more easily find motion jobs, by the way, find 3D jobs, or the that is the question. How you see the market right now about that
I,
two-sided?
currently, motion is everything. That's why we have TikTok blossoming. That's why we have reels and stories. I mean, everything from a motion perspective, that's where it's at. And every brand wants to put their product, put their name, put their brand into motion in some different way, whether that's 2D, whether it's 3D, whether it's illustrated, whether it's AI. Every brand is searching for motion. And that doesn't mean it's elaborate motion. That doesn't mean it's crazy motion, but it can be unique. So there are lots of things you can do on the post side that are just unique, that are just explorations that really do like elaborate looks, through motion. I know that's not directly your question. And what I mean by that is like that creates a divide where 3D is more difficult. 3D is difficult to get into these days because nobody wants just a 3D model. I know Facebook, Meta, Amazon, some of these places dabbled with the opportunity to have 3D uploaded, as an e-commerce, pinpoint for what they do, but it never really stuck. And I think 3D as like itself a containment of just a model itself, there's not a ton of value for most brands. They don't think that there's going to offer them anything on a digital shelf to have a 3D model. What are they going to do with it? So you need to say, what can I do with this 3D model? There has to be an output derivative of that.
Right.
And yes, static 2D renders are, excellent because everybody needs them. Everybody needs them for e-commerce. Everybody needs them for editorial. But motion is kind of where the industry's really flourished and pushed to. And that's why AI said, screw doing 3D models in AI because that's really challenging. We're going to go straight to motion. So now there's
Right.
AI video everywhere. But I don't think 3D is dead in the water and by any means, because great 3D motion design is still head above the rest. You have control, you have ability to do like immaculate things that are abstract. You can, send brand messages, brand awareness all through 3D in different ways that you could never do that, elsewise. But it's at the end of the day, it's still motion, right?
Right.
So I always tell people when they're getting into 3D that they need to understand how to animate and do some motion too, because
Right.
you probably, unless you find yourself being a 3D production artist with like a larger company, you're not going to find, a lot of 3D freelance opportunities or just 3D models or 3D. Like that's where like partnering with maybe a 2D artist where they're doing really awesome designs. If you're just really good at
Right.
3D and you see 2D people that have really, really awesome designs on Behance and stuff like that, you can start partnering with them and bringing their designs to life. And then you
Right.
have something to bounce back and forth. I mean, if you're looking at new brands online, and they really need to have prototypes and they want to have visuals for their products, you can try to partner with them and try to get some of those opportunities where, hey, this is a new seltzer company. They have shitty looking, renders and photography. So I'm going to do a really badass job and bring that to life. Cosmetic companies are great, but like I said, that's a very challenging, place to get into as a new, 3D person. So
Cool.
I would just say lean towards motion always, but yeah, have that foundation of strong 3D because I think a great 3D artist that learns motion can be super effective.
Right.
But also a great motion artist that learns 3D can also be super effective. But so a
Right.
little bit of both.
That,
Thanks, Spencer.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So I have the last questions because I know Spencer needs to go like in a couple of minutes. So if you need to start over, if everything goes away from the smoke and you need to start over, what things should you do in that case?
I don't want to think about that. I'm just kidding. So yeah, like my takeaways, like if I had to start over, I would I would build, myself up the right way and build my brand the right way. I would, show people who I am, who I want to be, and I would do all of that first. And that
Hmm.
what sucks is while you're doing that, you're not profitable. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's always the challenge because we're all trying to be profitable. We're all trying to like bankroll what we're doing, to fund what we're doing.
Right.
But you have to be willing to understand that this is, a creative market, and you have to build your own brand equity before you can go out there and build others. So that first and foremost, you have to have strong branding, and you have to really set yourself, apart from the rest by showing who you are.
Right.
And with understanding now of social media and like the analytics and all that stuff, um, it's easier to do nowadays from start than it is, it was 5, 10 years ago. But I'd say first and foremost, yeah, start there, and then you hit the ground running, and people know who you are. Stay true to that, and then you just network. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that is like what we're doing right now. Get online. I like some of the people I talk to daily are guys who worked as creative directors at Apple and all this other stuff, and I met them online.
Right.
All of these people are super cool at these major studios, and as long as you're cool, you can collaborate, you can network, and you can riff off each other. Some of the people that like really admire and respect, reach out to them, let them know that. I mean, they love hearing that feedback from you just as much as
Right.
you love hearing it from somebody else. So don't be afraid to always reach out to people and just connect with them.
Right. And I think I just will have the last input that we think because someone is CEO or someone is a creative director or someone is really big, we forget they are humans. And we forget that, they
Mhm.
just have pains and they have kids and they have dogs and they, and they spill the coffee and they, it's like real humans.
Yeah.
And when we forget that scenario. So when you speak to someone, whatever it is, it's like just be yourself, like you said, like be authentic and just spread value and be honest. It's like, hey man, I want us to know you more or whatever, and I think that's also key. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because that comes from, you're not always looking up. You're not always looking at these people as,
Right.
you know, as leaders of something that you're trying to get to. They're just other people. They're
Right.
just, can you communicate to them like they're sitting next to you in a room, and they'll actually enjoy them. I mean, obviously respect them for what they are because they're in a different industry and you're trying to help them and understand their industry as well. But like speak to them as a human,
Right.
and I think that that speaks volumes itself when you're authentic and you go into that understanding that. Um, I know me personally when I'm trying to help others, like junior artists and stuff.
Right.
I get more gratitude, from that for personal, satisfaction because I'm helping them, but I'm also like helping myself,
Right.
because there's something to be said for like the mentality of just positivity that, positivity and success begets success. And if we're all positive, we're all helping each other, we're all going to grow collectively.
Right.
When one person succeeds, we all succeed. So we're all trying to, raise each other up, and nobody's trying to compete directly with each other. And
Right.
that's what I love about, this, point in time. It's challenging as shit. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So anybody who tells you it's easy is crazy, or they just got super lucky. But
Right. Or
that's
basically,
that's the
or they're
benefit.
they're lying. They're just lying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, so yeah, I know you need to go now, but let's say thanks to Spencer for this amazing, amazing time. Hey, I need to say I'm not I'm super grateful. I'll be grateful forever for you, man. So it's been
Yeah. I'm
amazing.
just happy to help, man. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm
Awesome.
an
Yeah,
open
and
book.
and how can people connect with you? I mean, because I will post this also in YouTube and I will post this in other platforms. So how can people reach out? Do you prefer LinkedIn, Instagram? What do you prefer?
So I'm always on X/Twitter,
Okay.
just because it's quick and it's easy, small anecdotes here
Right.
and there. I follow so many talented people. I talk on people all the time on there, so it's an easy conversation on there. But I'm also on Slack, Discord, LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. I mean, you can catch me on any of that stuff. You can direct email with me if you like.
Okay.
I'm like I said, being aware, being in the moment, and like just being responsive. So I'm always here to communicate and help.
Cool. 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 So yeah. So what will be your email for someone to want to reach you or like
Yeah,
send
let
you a
me
link?
put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last thing, the last question is anyone can want to say thank you to Spencer or say something that will be a perfect moment.
Thank you, Spencer.
Cheers, Spenser. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
guys, thanks for taking the time to listen, to my rambling.
No, and you're amazing. You're amazing. I think when we think because we do this every day that everyone knows this, but I will let you know the amount of value that you share in this call is amazing. So I really really thank you for that.
Well, yeah, and like I said at the beginning, like I'm not here trying to tell you guys I know the way. Like I know my own barometer of success, so you guys need to go out and find that. And then once you find that, you can start building. You can start to get to that because finding those goals for yourself, personalized goals. We're all from different areas. We're all in different markets. We're all, from a different background. We all
Right.
have different, specialties. So I can't tell you how to be you. You can tell yourself how to be you.
That's a good close. Hey man, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. You're the greatest man, and hopefully it's been an awesome week for you.
All right. Same to
Cheers.
you guys.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks, man.
Cheers,
Happy
cheers, cheers, cheers.
holidays.
Take
All
care.
right, thank you.
Happy holidays. I see your Christmas tree, Alan, on the background. So I see your Christmas tree a little bit. Hey guys, take care.
Cool. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, Pedro.
Bye bye.